Hello everyone, I hope you had an amazing 4th of July. I've been out in the garden this morning doing some weeding and some watering. I got to finish up a little bit here, but now it's the month of July, I'm going to give you an update and a garden tour. The garden truly is a beautiful place, especially if you have an imagination and you can overlook the weeds. Well, first thing we're going to look at is the corn. And there's very few weeds because I just weeded it the other day and I fertilized. Late spring is usually drier than this. As a result of all that rain, the corn has gotten really tall. 4th of July, this was a lot taller than knee-high. We're talking 3 times taller than knee-high. And I didn't plant it any earlier than I did last year. Early June, late May, early June is when I planted this corn. Now this corn is planted very close together, about 18 inches. It's great for pollination. As the tassels form and the wind blows, it increases the likelihood that pollen will be transferred from the male flowers to the silks, the female flowers. So that way they pollinate each other. So it's good to grow it close together in blocks. Only a few corn plants have tassels, the male flowers so far. The silks, which are the female flowers, are further down on the plant, but they haven't formed yet. To fertilize the corn, I used 2 tablespoons of bone meal and the juice from 1 can of sardines and mixed it with a gallon of water. And it took 2 gallons of that mixture to water all of this corn. Zucchini, we already have zucchini. It's doing very well. I never have a problem with zucchini anymore. I mean, it just a little fertilizer, which is compost and mixed in with the soil, and I don't have to do any other fertilizing. That takes care of it. And a good healthy soil like what I get at Oakland Nursery. And I did put straw around the plants. They provide plenty of leaves, so that way it shades itself. I'm not sure that the butternut squash is going to do the same thing, but we'll see. Okay, back there we have some trellises where I'm growing cucumbers, but some other vine has taken off. I need to take that down. It's a wild flower of some sort that actually does attract monarchs. But here are the cucumber plants. These I planted weeks ago. They took a long time to germinate, and I was concerned about them, but I guess they're going to do all right. Okay, the soybeans are taking their time, coming up very nicely. And they're flowering. They're starting to flower already, which is good. Actually, I have a baby soybean right here coming on. We'll let that get bigger, and I'm real anxious to try those edamames. Here I have some plants that are a little close to the squash, but I'll work it out. I may have to take some of the zucchini leaves down. Between the zucchinis, I planted flower seeds. The more flowers that bloom, the better for pollination. I didn't know that these leaves would get this big. Because of the rain, this is what happened. In the past, my zucchini leaves have not looked nearly this large. A zinnia is going to be growing here, and that will attract bees. I want all the bees I can get, and it's good for the environment. Okay, over here we have 2 sunflowers I planted by seed. Maybe we'll see some blooms in a couple weeks, at least I would say by the end of July. I'm real excited about these. I love sunflowers. Kale is doing great. It looks amazing. I'm ready for kale chips. It's so beautiful, I don't want to pick it, but we need to eat this. It's very healthy, and I need to freeze some also. Have some more zucchini over here. There is 1 large one here, and there's 1 other on one of the plants. It doesn't seem to, it's not getting as much sun as it does in the other area. And that affects fruit production. Okay, that is a rhubarb that's doing very well, and pretty soon I'm going to be picking this. I got strawberries from the garden in the freezer. Gonna make strawberry rhubarb pie coming up. I'm very excited. But we have one that is a late bloomer here, and I'm gonna fertilize this one with either Miracle Grow or bone meal. Yeah, let me know what you recommend for rhubarb. And do you like rhubarb? A lot of people are unsure about it, but most people love it in dessert with strawberries. We're growing some carrots here, and they've got a long way to go, I believe. There's one that's pretty big right here, but I'm not going to pull it yet. I'm going to hold off on this. Right behind me, we have potatoes, and I'm real excited about this. My first year for growing yellow potatoes, and it only cost $1.16 for the seed potatoes. They were in a little package, and because of the discount, my husband gets a special discount because he's a veteran, and that really did help. They were cheap to begin with. So there were 6 plants altogether that came up from a little tiny potatoes, and this is what it produced. Now I'm hoping I'm going to give this, I'm going to fertilize this with bone meal. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm hoping that the potatoes will produce quite a bit, and I believe they're medium size. I don't think they're supposed to be real large, but I'm not used to growing anything but sweet potatoes. So let me know if you grow potatoes and how long does it take for the harvest. I read it online, but I don't remember at this time. Here we have a garlic that's getting ready to flower, and I'm excited to see that. If it seeds off, I'm curious to know if those will reproduce. The other garlic scapes I harvested the other day, and we'll be using those just like you do minced garlic in our cooking. As soon as the bottom leaves turn brown, I'll be harvesting this garlic. Now it's time to show you the beets, and I'm real excited because that's my favorite vegetable. And here are the beets. Here's a very large one. They're doing very well, much better than I expected. I'll be harvesting some of these. Some of these are large enough to harvest, or larger than what I expected, actually. Oh my gosh, so this is going to be very soon, the beet harvest. But there's some that are still very small, so I'll keep those in the ground longer. If you're growing beets, let me know. I want to connect with someone who likes beets as well as I do, because I just adore them. I pickle them. My husband even likes them now. So that's a good thing. And they're super healthy. You can't go wrong with beets. The cilantro has gotten very tall, and it's still good to eat. I need to harvest this, and I need to do some drying of the herbs, I should say. I need to dry the herbs. I've got plenty of dill here. It's flowered off, and I just love the look of the... I grow it like a flower also, and then anytime I need dill, I can come down here and get it. But to dry the herbs would be a smart thing to do, I realize. This little garden never did very well until this year, so the rain had something to do with it, I imagine. And I have some younger lettuces that we can still eat, because the other lettuce that I grew that came up early, it is good for pesto and nothing else. Maybe lettuce bread. We still have some sage that came up from last year. Yeah, that is red Russian sage. So I really need to harvest that. It's not as fresh looking as the sage I showed you earlier. So that looks like it needs harvested, and some kind of insects are getting into that. Back here we have shallots, and I'm going to I watered these this morning, but really can't tell. The heat is really coming through. It dried up the soil already. So the shallots are starting to flower. And if you know anything about shallots, let me know also, because this is my first year and I need to know when to harvest the shallots. I need to get out here and pick berries, and I need to get on the ball. There's not very many raspberries left, but now we have blackberries, and I put them in a freezer bag, and I just add on to it. Then I wash them when I take them out to use them later in late summer, early fall. So I'm not getting as many as last year, but also the birds are getting them. Birds or insects, and I'm not getting out here fast enough to harvest these. So that's one of the things I need to do right after I close this video. My husband's in charge of the tomatoes, and he does not want these trimmed out yet. I would have trimmed them already. I would cut off the suckers. Every year we go through this, and he says, let them grow out. He wants them to bush out. And then eventually he says, tells me to trim them. These celebrities are really full, and now we're getting lots more blossoms. So we do have some tomatoes way down here. Here's one. Yeah, they're green, of course. I would have trimmed these over a week ago. This is a lemon boy. It's not doing as well, but it doesn't need trimmed. But we do have some tomatoes on it, but some of them are on the ground, which is not a good thing. It doesn't look as healthy. I might need to give this some fertilizer. We've been watering these, but it's just extremely hot. It feels like it's already in the 90s. The peppers are doing fine. I don't see where there's a problem. They love heat, and normally tomatoes do too. The celebrities don't seem to mind it. I am concerned about that lemon boy. So the one in the middle looks puny compared to the other two. But if you know anything about lemon boy, I don't have any experience, but I do love a yellow tomato that's slightly sour. I do love that taste. The marigolds are looking good. They like hot weather too. And they help keep the bad bugs at bay. So the leaves, see, the tomato leaves are looking amazing. We don't have an insect problem with these tomatoes at all. Plus there's some garlic chives mixed in here, and the insects don't like the smell of that either. The gladiolas, I'm really looking forward to. One of them, I don't know what happened. Well, that's disappointing. I think a large bird got on this. But these two look fine. These are some of my newer gladiolas. There might be a couple here from last year that I planted. They don't come up every year. If I mulch them really well to protect them during the winter, they usually come back. If I don't, then that's it. They die off. But this one was one I planted this year, and I can see that it's going to have a nice bloom on it soon. It's for my sister's birthday, but I have other flowers here. Her birthday's coming up. I've got a couple weeks to go yet. Now it's time to show you the sweet potato vines. This is the 4th year I've been growing sweet potatoes. And I grew them in another area in the garden that didn't work out as well. But I had a great harvest last year, so really looking forward to this. And these vines look nice and healthy. And there's 12 plants here, twice as many as last year, so this harvest should be amazing. And our cherry tomatoes are coming on, and I love to put these in the oven because I love sun-dried tomatoes on pizza or just to eat as a snack. We have dozens of these coming on. So these are volunteers from several years ago, believe it or not, 4 years ago when I planted had one cherry tomato plant and planted in the garden here. Actually, it was in a pot and it reseeded. Some of the tomatoes got thrown into the garden and it reseeded, and it's been growing ever since. I haven't purchased a cherry tomato plant in 4 years. The onions are doing pretty well. I really need to mulch here. That onion looks pretty good, the bulb, but the soil needs to be softer, I believe. If I could push some of the soil away, it might help the bulbs to get bigger. The parsley's doing very well. I planted that by seed, and it likes rain very much. So we don't have a problem with that. And here's some more shallots. They're growing right. There's ground cover all through here. That helps keep everything insulated. And keeps it cool and helps it to grow. Now, as far as the bulbs, they may not get as big because this ground cover has really taken over. I'm a little concerned about that. There's enough to worry about in this life, in this world, than to worry about your garden being perfect. So perfection, it's out the door for me. I do not strive for perfection. I do pull weeds and I try to make it look nice, and I try to help the vegetables and fruits along and keep the plants healthy, but I'm not following a bunch of set rules. Now, I'm not doing this for a living. I'm not selling any of these vegetables or anything like that. So in order for it to be perfect, I would be spending a lot more money, or I would definitely have to have my own mulcher and something for composting, to put compost in. I don't know what they call that. It's like a drum thing. If you know what that is, let me know. I am not spending money on any of that. So we're going to make do with what we have as much as possible. But I do plan on going to the garden store real soon to get some more mulch, because that's what we need more than anything. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I inspired you to get out into the garden. And it does not have to be perfect. It's mainly about connecting with nature and growing your own food. And whatever you can grow on a budget, you need to do that. God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you on the next one.